don't even know how you do it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the meeting of the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District Board of Trustees to order for July 21st, 2022. Ask the acting secretary call the roll.
Mayor Bocci,
Present.
Ms. Dumas.
Here.
Ms. Chambers.
Here.
Mayor Alai, President Brown.
Here.
Mr. Sulik here, Mayor DeGator. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Now ask for the approval of the minutes from our July 7, 2022 meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Dumas.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chambers. Is there a question? There's no question. The minutes will stand approved as they are printed. Now ask the CEO if anyone has signed up to speak during the public session portion of our agenda on a specific agenda topic.
They have not, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. We'll have your report.
Thank you, President Brown and members of the board. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Beginning with COVID-19, we have no active cases among district employees and 4 employees with COVID-like symptoms. This brings us to 221 confirmed cases since the beginning of the pandemic, with 221 folks recovered and returned to work. So as you may recall from our March 3rd meeting, we talked about the funding available through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and our efforts to ensure that funding is available for both district projects and member community projects. So since that time, we have some additional guidance from Ohio EPA, and we wanted to provide an update for you today on that federal funding. So again, we're talking about the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. This was signed last year, November 15th of 2021. This was $1.2 trillion for all types of infrastructure. That translated to $50 billion administered through US EPA for all kinds of water, all the issues related to water that fall under the Environmental Protection Agency, and then it further translated to about $100 million a year to the Ohio Clean Water State Revolving Fund over the next 5 years. So the thing that is new with this, in addition to being the new inflow of funding, is that 49% has to go as grants. I will use the term grants. This is actually referred to as principal forgiveness, but I'll use the term grants going forward. And if we want to get into the details of principal forgiveness, Ken would be happy to do that. So the focus of the grants is on disadvantaged communities, and the district's goal is to ensure over the next 5 years that the maximum amount of this funding comes into the region. So our focus in terms of district projects, we will continue to rely, as you know, on the state revolving fund for our capital program projects, but we specifically as a regional district are not eligible for this grant funding. But our member communities are eligible for this grant funding, so we are partnering with the member communities who are categorized as disadvantaged communities to nominate their projects to Ohio EPA for this funding, and if those grants are awarded, then to implement the projects on the community's behalf. So this builds on the findings of our local sewer system evaluation studies and builds on the member community infrastructure program and really the district's long history of helping our member communities solve local infrastructure and water quality issues. And just as a reminder to everyone, this is the member community infrastructure program, the district's effort to support the repair and renewal of sewer infrastructure, and really at its most basic to reduce human contact with sewage from things like sanitary sewer overflows, basement backups, failing septic systems, common trench sewers, and illicit discharges. And if you look at this graphic from our 2022 awards, you see that the member community infrastructure program is very well used and is very popular among all of our member communities, and Frank and his team and Devonna and their team do an amazing job at implementing that program. But if we look at the numbers, and again, as we talked about in March, the member community infrastructure program is $15 million a year against basically $1 billion in immediate needs, as seen from our local sewer system evaluation studies. So anything that we can do to capture this new tranche of money that's coming in from the federal government, we want to do that. So in terms of what we know now from Ohio EPA, they are open to this idea of the district and interested local governments cooperatively nominating these projects. And most importantly, they have expanded their definition of disadvantaged communities to include urban areas with populations over 10,000. Because remember, as we talked about, historically in Ohio, disadvantaged communities had been 10,000 and below. And now, if we go to the next slide, Ohio EPA has proposed this criteria on their affordability side. A community has to qualify for 3 of these 4 criteria. So median household income less than $58,000, unemployment rate greater than 3.3%, folks below the 200% of the federal poverty level at 30% or greater, and then really no change in their population, so very low population growth. So our team has looked at those criteria with 2021 data, and these are the communities that, based on our best assumptions, and we've shared this list with Ohio EPA, these are the disadvantaged communities. This list will be formally published, and Ohio EPA will use 2022 data, but these are the communities that we have reached out to. We've met with all of these communities and talked about this new potential for grant funding and our proposal to nominate projects on their behalf. We've received project proposals from the communities. Folks are now looking through those proposals. We'll meet with Ohio EPA next week, and then we would come back to you to request your approval to nominate these projects, and if they receive grant funding, to then enter into agreements with the communities to implement those projects. And if you go to the last slide, John, our overall plan is to nominate up to $20 million in projects on behalf of the communities, both over 10,000 and below 10,000, because those are the criteria or the buckets that Ohio EPA has put together. We would only be applying for the grant funding, so no additional district dollars would go to these projects at this point. If successful, we would enter into the project agreements with the communities. Devana would then implement the projects, and then the communities would be the owners of those projects going forward. And we'll adjust as this program goes forward. I'll pause there if there's any questions on this development. President Brown.
Well, since you asked, I know we've spent a lot of time and energy kind of doing master planning on a system-wide basis for SSES. But in many instances, communities actually have to take similar action if they're really going to get down to a granular basis of really understanding those things that have been historically problematic in their communities. So, we take a good look, we keep a good eye on interceptors and illicit discharges and SSOs and all those things, because we're tasked with doing that. But local collector systems have similar challenges, and basically their job is to get their flow to us, but in many instances they have similar challenges. So is there the opportunity maybe to help coordinate, collaborate around doing some of the, helping them facilitate doing some of this work, knowing, understanding that, sewage, it runs by gravity, so in many instances it goes from community to community to community. So is there perhaps an opportunity here to help them get some of this work done, which would help them further prioritize some of their project and work that they need to do in their community as well?
Go ahead, Frank.
Are you talking about the planning
Yes.
to tee these things up? The MCIP program.
Well, again, but it's $15 million a year.
Well, that's right.
So
That's right. I mean, we can always,
So I'm
we
just
all,
asking if we can bring something to scale, and can we figure out what scale should look like over some period of time?
Right, and I think that that's what the SSESs have laid out for us. And the issue, to your question, President Brown, the issue is that many of these projects obviously need further design. And so Devonna and Frank are both having those conversations that the communities can bring us a problem area, but Ohio EPA needs to recognize that in this first year of this new money with communities who've not gotten money in the past, they're not going to have something sitting on the shelf ready to roll.
It's that, and it's not just an issue of money, it's an issue of resources, people internal to their organization that can do project oversight, who can actually do the work that needs to be done to actually submit applications, et cetera. Those are basic things that we kind of take for granted because of, the size of our organizations, but a lot of folks don't have that capacity, capability.
Exactly. So Devonna and Frank, if you guys want to.
I guess I'll start out by saying that what we propose in front of you today that Kyle walked through is our first step in doing that, going after this money to then allow our resources to then support the communities. And I'll let Frank speak a little bit to what we're doing just with the Community Discharge Permit Program and the MCIP and continue to support them in putting together applications for not only the MCIP, but also for things like this, that they too can go after the grant funding directly. So we're working and doing some of those things. And obviously, if we're successful in getting this money, we'll be able to take these projects, to your point, that we've only done an evaluation at a very high planning level, bring that information, do detailed design, and actually deliver those projects for the communities.
Right.
So we do this on the stormwater side.
Yeah.
We have technical resources that can work with communities to help guide them. We've done this historically on the wastewater side as well. The money hasn't been in front of us like it is now, but we have a very good relationship with the service directors, utility directors, and city engineers of each community. We have, we invested $50 million on local planning to tee projects up for ultimately design and construction. We have internal resources in engineering and in watersheds. The engineering folks ran those SSES jobs. They were overseeing them. So they have great knowledge in, the results and the recommendations. We also have folks in watersheds that can work with those community engineers and help guide them. We have assisted communities from time to time in teeing up their applications to make sure they're good. You want to win, right? It's all about winning.
I hear that, but I'm just asking if there's the appetite to formalize a process that we can make sure we get that list of 14 or cities that you have up there into a process
Right.
that they know this is how we're going to approach this, and this is how we can help you.
Yeah, we can do it.
Yes, exactly, President Brown, and that's what we've laid out in our meetings with them and talked to them about the fact that as this money comes over the next 5 years, we want to work with you to bring in as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I did just want to close with two other points in terms of activities that have gone on this week. So just this Tuesday, we hosted Cleveland Council President Blaine Griffin and members of Council Utilities Committee and staff for a tour of our Easterly wastewater treatment plant. And you see everyone there at Easterly, and then over to our shoreline tunnel main mining site at Forest Hills Park. So we provided a great, those went way too fast, John. Are you trying to move me along? We went over the district's program with a brief PowerPoint presentation and had some great conversation about our business opportunity program and our affordability work. Then Bob and his team provided a tour of Easterly, and then we went to Southerly and to the shoreline storage tunnel. And this was actually a great moment for folks to look over into the shaft location and to see this for the first time.
They didn't want to go down?
Yeah.
We did not offer the opportunity to go down.
Just a little push.
Right. This was a great opportunity to share our work, and I want to thank everyone. It was a big effort to put this together, and thank everyone for their work pulling this all together and having such a great informative tour. We basically had enough district staff so we could have little pockets and folks could get all their questions answered. So it was wonderful. And then finally, we received the Ready there's John Korn's smiling face there. We received the Ready Certify Award from Cuyahoga County's Office of Emergency Management this month. So the Ready Certify program is a voluntary emergency management certification from Cuyahoga County for municipalities and organizations. It's a wonderful way for us to have an outside organization check our planning, training, and public outreach as it relates to emergency management. So this is a great recognition of the work that John and all the folks he works with do. So congratulations to them.
Very good.
And that's my report. Thank you, President Brown.
All right. Any questions for the CEO? If not, then we will go to our action items. All right, let's start with authorization to advertise, beginning with a request for authorization to publish notice calling for bids in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 6119.10 for the Green Infrastructure Vegetation Enhancement Project, anticipated expenditure of $121,000. Also request for authorization to publish notice calling for bids in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 6119.10 for the Easterly Tunnel Dewatering Pump Station Groundwater Drainage Cleaning and Repairs Project with an anticipated expenditure of $800,000.
So moved.
A motion by Mayor Bocci.
Second.
Second. I'll take Ms. Dumas as a second. Is there a question? There's no question. Without objection, they're approved.
234 and 23522.
Thank you. Let's go authorization to purchase. This is authorization to purchase software maintenance and support services for the district's health and safety application, EHS Insight, from sole source vendor StarTech Software LLC for the period July 21, 2022 through July 20, 2023, an amount not to exceed $71,400.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Chambers,
Second.
second by Mr. Sulik. Is there a question? There's no question. Without objection, it's approved.
23622.
Thank you. Let's go authorization to enter into contract. This is authorization to enter into a construction contract with A.W. Farrell and Sons, Inc. for a district-wide roof improvements 2 project in amount not to exceed $2,100,850.
Make that motion, Mr. President.
Motion by Mayor Bocci,
Second.
second by Ms. Dumas. Just a question. I believe we did an assessment on this a while ago. It says improvement 2, so that suggests we already had a phase of this. So we prioritize a list of projects. So how many facilities are we looking to get at this time? And is this just going to be ongoing, or is there an endpoint where all roofs are in some type of condition that has a useful life, but it's reasonable for us?
So yes, President Brown, members of the board, you're correct. This is the second of 2, what we're calling phase project for district-wide roof replacement. Both of these were a result of an assessment that we did back in 2018. Phase 1 is still finishing up as we added 4 additional roofs that were supposed to be done under Phase 2 to Phase 1 as we were dealing with the issues with deliverables taking longer than usual and getting equipment on site. So yes, so this is actually wrapping up any repairs that were identified in that 2018 assessment. In total, we're repairing, replacing 19 roofs across the district. Right now, there's no future plans to do another assessment, although building maintenance continues to identify where needs exist as part of their ongoing efforts to help maintain our facilities. So as those are identified, we will take those into consideration into our overall capital plan, either adding them into larger projects if we're doing work in that area, or if the needs that are identified are large enough, we would come back to you maybe with another district-wide type project for roof repairs.
Okay, so you said there were 19, so this will take care of whatever the balance is of those 19.
Yes, so 9 will be done under this project, 9 of the 19.
All right, any other questions? If there are no further questions, then without objection, it's approved.
23722.
Thank you. Let's go authorization of contract modification. This is authorizing final adjusting change order contract number 2000383 with ABC Piping Company, Inc., for the district-wide HVAC equipment and systems upgrade project by decreasing the contract amount by $384,433.47, thereby bringing the total contract amount to $4,474,566.53.
Move to adopt 238-22.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Dumas, second by Mayor Bocci. Is there a question? If there's no question, without objection, it's approved.
238-22.
All right, let's go authorization to amend agreement. This is authorization to amend agreement number 21003-252 with West Creek Conservancy, number 21003-190 with Western Reserve Land Conservancy, and number 21003-510 with O.R. Colon Associates LLC for conservation planning and property acquisition services to increase the total authorized amount by $225,000 for all agreements combined, thereby bringing the total authorized amount not to exceed $975,000 for all three agreements combined.
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Chambers,
Second.
second by Ms. Dumas. Just briefly, I presume that there's not a time limitation on this contract. It appears to be driven by expenditure or exhausting of funds. So it looks like we're adding funds to create some additional capacity. I would suggest, I would think that at some point we will be going back out for these services. So.
Right. This property acquisition and permit acquisition from the Army Corps or Ohio EPA, those are the two key things that can drive the speed of implementation of stormwater projects. Now, we entered into the contract with the Army Corps, and things are good on that side. This was our first contract for assistance on property acquisition. We entered into this contract last May, and we've been very aggressive, and it's been very successful in allowing us to obtain easements, property acquisitions. The pace has been enormous. You're right, there is no contract expiration date, but we have nearly exhausted the funds in this contract, and we have a lot on the table. And we want to add $225,000 to continue our momentum. At the same time, we are drafting an RFP that we intend to bring in front of the board later this year and award a contract hopefully in the first quarter or so next year. That would be the Phase 2 property acquisition contract. We're going to have to look hard at that contract total. This was our first cut. We made an estimate, and the pace has been pretty quick, which is good. We need this stuff to move our projects forward.
All right, any other questions? All right, if there are no other questions, then without objection, it's approved.
239-22.
Thank you. Let's go property-related transactions. Got a few of those. All right, let's go. Authorization to acquire one permanent stormwater easement and one temporary easement at property known as permanent parcel number 564-27009, located at 8930 Brookside Road in the city of Independence, owned by Paul A. Russ and Catherine Russ, necessary for construction and maintenance of the stream restoration along unnamed tributary to Cuyahoga River at Brookside Road project. Total consideration $8,510. Request for authorization to acquire one permanent stormwater easement, one temporary easement at property known as permanent parcel number 564-27026, located at 8990 Brookside Road in the city of Independence, owned by Jacob Rodinger Jr. and Donna J. Rodinger, necessary for construction and maintenance of the stream restoration along unnamed tributary to Cuyahoga River at Brookside Road project, with total consideration $1,140. Request for authorization to acquire one temporary easement at property known as permanent parcel number 564-27031, located at 8926 Brookside Road in the city of Independence, owned by Eric F. Romilly and Sharon L. Romilly, necessary for construction of stream restoration along unnamed tributary to Cuyahoga River at Brookside Road project. Total consideration $600. Request for authorization to acquire one permanent stormwater easement, property known as permanent parcel number 76116-015, located at 20009 Butternut Lane, the city of Warrensville Heights, owned by What a Lovely Home LLC, necessary for the construction and maintenance of Mill Creek restoration near Cricket Lane in Warrensville Heights project. Total consideration of $3,000. And then finally, request for authorization to acquire one permanent stormwater easement, one temporary easement at property known as permanent parcel numbers 454-25001 and 454-25008, located at 7733 Ridge Road in the city of Parma, owned by the Greater Cleveland Shiva Vishnu Temple, Inc., necessary for construction and maintenance of the Big Creek Stream restoration upstream and downstream of Ridge Road and Parma project. Total consideration $210,250.
Move to adopt 240-22 through 244-22.
Motion by Ms. Dumas, second by Ms. Chambers. Question, just if you could, 244-22. Looks like an easement, but it's 210,000 plus, so if you could kind of enlighten us as to why this cost. It looks like we're probably going to be there, looks like permanently maybe. So if you could explain.
This went through our appraisal process. We need a permanent easement and a temporary. Here, the permanent easement is almost 11 acres in size, and that may be one of the largest ones I think we've ever, sought. So the appraisal was done, fair market value on the easement. That estimate was provided, or that figure was provided to the owner, and they accepted. So it just follows our natural process. It's just the sheer size of the easement area drives up the cost.
And Frank, you can't quite see it, but there's a stream through that.
Well, then go ahead, John, take one. There is a stream along, well, we can go back, but we've talked about this project before. This is Big Creek erosion and flooding, multiple areas, big project, a lot of easement needs, several acquisitions as well, and the stream is abutting this property, and we need that property to affect this job or be able to construct.
And I don't know which part of, well, this is in Parma, so it's upstream, but I know as it gets downstream in Cleveland, it gets rather shallow and narrow, and the right-of-way basically for these property owners, it goes to the center of the stream.
Right.
So as we continue to try to provide some conveyance here and prevent flooding, I'm just struck by what I think is going to be a challenge with property acquisition for that portion of that project.
It's an enormous challenge. It's an enormous challenge, and that's why these big projects, I think we need, I forget how many, 21 easements we're going to need, 4 acquisitions to do the project we'd like to do. Each time we get an acquisition or an easement, we're trying to create more floodplain, right? Recover what we've lost. And it is an enormous challenge, and that's why, the previous resolution request, we're burning money to get these things done. And we're going to continue to move forward. This is an important property, and we've come to an agreement with the owner.
And of course, water flows downhill, so as you're creating
Coming your way.
capacity up there, it's coming downstream.
Well, that's right. And Big Creek has an enormous amount of impervious cover, and the flows are next to nothing sometimes in dry weather and unbelievable in wet weather. And in this area, the grade is such that the velocities are just enormous, so there's tons of erosion taking
And then
place.
finally, the downstream portion, whatever gets done, basically provides protection between the bridge over I-71 and the bridge over I-480. Everything between that is at risk. So, has your planning changed just because of the the rainfall patterns seem to be much more significant in terms of volume and velocity.
We are doing work on climate change and understanding the impacts of climate change. We're doing that in-house. I'm on a Water Research Foundation committee where they're launching a project to look at this situation to help people that are doing infrastructure planning into the future. Our goal was always to get to a 100-year level of protection, and we know we're not going to get there everywhere. But we are looking at this actively now, taking a look at current patterns, projected future patterns, and what might that mean in terms of design of projects going forward. But it is a huge challenge.
All right. Any other questions, concerns? There are none, then without objection, they're approved.
240 through 24422.
Thank you. And then finally, we have the hearing officer findings and recommendations. This is authorization to adopt the findings of the hearing officer regarding the sewer and stormwater accounts of Bill Leach. Bill Leach Sewer District Hearing Number 22-010, that no account adjustments be made.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
I didn't finish, by Ms. Chambers, a second by Mayor Bocci. Question? No question, then without objection, there's approved.
24522.
Thank you very much. That completes our action item agenda. Let's see, let's go to information item. We have program management status report and updates.
Good afternoon, President Brown, members of the board.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Believe it or not, we're at the mid-year mark. So this is the mid-year update on the capital improvement program for 2022. With it being a mid-year update, I will provide you an update on contract management. I also provide a KPI update at the program level, sort of a check-in to see where we stand as of the mid-year, and then I'll wrap it up with an update on Project Clean Lake. So looking first at contract management, we currently have 81 active contracts. The value amount of those contracts is $973.4 million. By phase, in construction, $687.2 million. So most of those contracts are in construction. $273.2 million are in design level contracts, and then the remaining $13 million are in planning level contracts. By location, again, majority focus on the collection system, $639.5 million, with $240.3 million focus on plant-specific projects, and then the remaining $93.6 million is in the category of district-wide. So looking at actuals as of the mid-year mark, we awarded 90 professional services contracts, total of $34.3 million. Of note there, we awarded our next round of testing and construction and inspection services contracts, 5 in total. Total value amount is $14 million. We also awarded the design of the Kingsbury Run Consolidation Sewer for $11.3 million. This is part of the Southerly Tunnel System, it's part of the consent decree. And then we also awarded the next round of general engineering services contracts, number 10 and 11. Each of those are worth $3 million. We also had 6 construction awards in the first half of the year, total amount $159 million. Of note there is the Wesley Chemically Enhanced High Rate Treatment for $80 million, the Shoreline Consolidation Sewer for $55.5 million. Both of those are Project Clean Lake projects. And then also of note is the award of the award of the construction for Brookside Culvert Repair for $9.5 million, as well as the Eastleigh PLC replacement for $8.9 million. And then also, we wrapped up 6 construction contracts. Total final amount of those contracts came in at $156.9 million. Of note there is the Doan Valley Storage Tunnel, where the final construction cost for that project was $136.5 million. And then also of note is the Eastleigh Aeration Tanks Rehabilitation Project for $9.7 million. So moving on to our key performance indicators, those are all listed here. If you look at the far right 2 columns, we first have our goals listed, and then the furthest right column shows where we stand as of the mid-year mark. Those shown in green are where we're either tracking, meeting, or exceeding our KPI, again, as of the halfway point. And then those shown in red are where we're falling behind on meeting our goal. The first one there where we're not quite meeting our goal is on our cash flow. We closed out the month of June, the halfway point at 78%, where our goal was actually 85%. Looking ahead, I do anticipate that being higher by the end of the year. I can't say I can guarantee we'll meet the 85% KPI, but I'm hopeful we'll come close. And then the other one where we're falling short is on substantial completion under construction, where we have a goal of achieving substantial completion within 90 days of planned. And as you can see there, we're just missing that as the average is plus 91 days. So two of the key performance indicators I wanted to highlight in a little bit more detail is our KPI around the BOP program, and then provide you a report out on our work orders. This is basically how we're utilizing the general allowance on our contracts. So looking first at the business opportunity program, again, this goal is set around any construction contract that closes in a given year. In 2022, at the mid-year mark, we've closed 6 projects in total. Again, the final contract value of those, $156.93 million. Of that, $34.72 million was paid out to BOP firms, and this equates to BOP participation of 22.13%. And that does exceed the cumulative goal that was set on those 6 projects, which was 15.31%.
Okay, good.
And then looking at the cash flow just in 2022, we don't have a KPI around this, but just information I like to share as part of the mid-year update. So through the month of June, the halfway point in the year, we have paid out $23.6 million to BOP firms for their work on CIP projects. Comparing that to the total cash flow through the mid-year, which is $93.4 million, that gives us a BOP participation of over 25% at 25.27%. So looking again at our KPIs, it relates to providing a report out on our work orders and use of our general allowance and how we're utilizing those funds. Again, 6 projects were closed out and through the mid-year point, total dollar amount $156.93 million. Of that, $2.78 million was through work orders, which equates to 1.77% of the total contract amount. So again, most of what we spent there was on the base scope of work. And then if you look at the figure there, the majority of those fell to the category of differing or unforeseen site conditions, which is not a surprise with the type of work that we do underground. And then a majority of the remaining piece of the pie fell to the category of owner-requested changes. So moving on to the update on Project Clean Lake. Since I last provided an update on Project Clean Lake, we have completed 6 additional projects. Again, 100 in total will be completed as part of this effort. So 44 have been completed to date. 23 are in some sort of phase, they're active, and then 13 future projects remain. In regards to the control measures, this is how they're actually defined in the consent decree, and these 100 projects that we have are basically necessary to meet the requirements of those control measures. So 11 of those 25 control measures have achieved full operation. In regards to dollars spent to date, so we've spent or awarded $1.94 billion. This does equate to $1.54 billion in 2009 dollars. For those of you who are keeping track, when we entered into the decree, the estimated cost was $3 billion. So right now we're tracking at $1.54 billion. In regards to value engineering savings, we're at $485 million, again in 2009 dollars. So if you do the math, $3 billion minus this almost $500 million, this consent decree, after it's all implemented, should cost us around $2.5 million. But we're hopeful that we'll continue to achieve value engineering savings and that price tag will continue to come down. In regards to actual performance and CSO control, we're currently tracking at 1.7 billion gallons of CSO reduction since entering into the consent decree. And we anticipate, an additional 300 million gallons will be controlled by the end of 2023 to add to that total, bringing us to the 2 billion gallon mark. And a majority of that is associated with the activation of the Wesley Storage Tunnel. So looking at some highlights that occurred in the first half of 2022, again, some of these are repetitive, but just a good summary. We commenced the design of the Kingsbury Run Consolidation Sewer, as I previously mentioned, again, part of the Sudley Tunnel System, where the estimated CSO control in a typical year is 750 million gallons. We also commenced the construction of the Shoreline Consolidation Sewer, again, part of the larger Shoreline Tunnel System. The Shoreline Tunnel is also in construction. And this system will control approximately 370 million gallons in a typical year. We commenced the construction of the Wesley Chemically Enhanced High-Rate Treatment and Disinfection Facility. This project is controlling one of our largest CSO locations right by the Wesley plant. And this project provides 260 million gallons of annual CSO control. And then also of note is we commenced the post-construction compliance activities for Control Measure 20. Control Measure 20 is one of our smaller control measures. It's basically a sewer separation project. But with this sewer separation project, we are eliminating a CSO location. So in a typical year, that equates to about 0.2 million gallons of CSO control. But again, we're completely eliminating this CSO, so no matter the rain event, no activations coming out this outfall. It is now a stormwater only outfall. Looking ahead to the second half of 2022, we will complete the construction of the Wesley Tunnel. 285 million gallons of annual CSO control is associated with that once it comes online. We will also complete the construction of the West 3rd Quigley CSO control project. This will provide us 7.6 million gallons of annual CSO control. We will also achieve full operation of control measures 17 and 19, so that 11 will go up to 13 of the 25 that are achieved that status. Again, these are two smaller control measures, but again, sewer separation that allows us to completely eliminate 2 CSO from our system, where in a typical year that provides relief of 3.3 million gallons in CSO reduction. And then finally, we will complete the post-construction compliance activities for Control Measure 6. Control Measure 6 is our largest control measure in regards to the number of projects that were delivered as part of that control measure to meet the requirements under the decree. This is our Euclid Creek Dugway Storage Tunnel System and all the components that comprise that. And this control measure provided us 900 million gallons of annual CSO control.
Wow.
And that ends my update for the mid-year. Any questions?
No, it's a good report. Great goals for the end of the year. Sounds like we'll have a big celebration at some point.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's see here. Takes care of our information item. Moving along in our agenda, anything for open session? All right, ask the CEO if anyone has signed up to speak during the public session portion of our agenda on any subject matter.
They have not, Mr. President.
Okay. Let's see. Executive session, we had a matter, but we're going to hold that until we can have the full complement of the board. It's a very important personnel matter that I would like all of us to see and process at the same time. So we will hold that. That being said, then, that does complete our agenda for the day, and I am willing to entertain a motion to adjourn.
And I'll make that motion, Mr. President.
Motion by Mayor Bocci.
Second.
Second by Ms. Dumas. Without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.